Hello friends, in this video we'll talk about the results of Karol Navrodskiy's first year in power, the massive truck backup at the Ukraine-Poland border, new excavation work in Volhynia and street radicalism in Poland. And there we've got stabbings and brawls in Krakow trams. We're figuring out how big politics, pre-election psychosis and a shift to the right are turning everyday aggression into a convenient tool for manipulation. Please like, subscribe to the channel and watch the video till the end, friends. Thank you so much for your support. To promote the video, write a 7-word comment such as bald guy, why aren't you at the sea, why aren't you at the front, or ask questions. Now let's get down to business. The first story. Due to the naval blockade and the redirection of exports to land transport, 6,500 trucks are stuck at the exit to Poland, according to the Association of International Forwarders. At the Yagodin-Dorohsk checkpoint, the wait can reach almost 7 days. Well, my friends, the system has jammed and exporters are already counting their losses. Next, a political story. Poland will help Ukraine because it is fighting the Russians but will not tolerate Bandera flags, said the country's president Karol Navrodskiy at a rally of PIS supporters. Well, I'll tell you, I'm sure the Ukrainians were very upset because already at the border, I think, in those trucks, yes, 7,000 trucks, there were probably Bandera flags. And Karol Navrodskiy said he won't tolerate it. The drivers felt discouraged, wondering if they should just take the flags back now. Oh Lord, who will show me these Bandera flags in Poland? Yes, of course, to be fair, I remember there was only one case in my 11 years living in Poland when at a Max Kort's concert, some fool actually pulled out a Bandera flag. That's the only case I remember. All right, let's get to the point. What does Mr. Karol say? He says, let them kill the Soviets where they attacked them. We, the Poles, don't feel any pain from that. On this issue, they can always count on our help because wherever a Russian is being beaten, Poland provides assistance even if we are not directly participating in this war. This is Poland's strategic interest, but Poland's strategic interest also includes making sure that Bandera flags are not flown in Warsaw or anywhere else in Poland. Well, that was his interesting and impressive speech on the occasion of the first anniversary of his time in office. Yes, by the way, it should be noted that over the past 2 years, aid to Ukraine has decreased 15-fold. We've already talked about this. Well, okay. Yes, let me remind you that the Law and Justice Party is fully using the Ukraine issue in its election campaign. In particular, they promised to deport unemployed Ukrainians. We just talked about this yesterday or the day before. Look, friends, regarding the political situation, what's the bottom line? A year has passed, yes. Navrodskiy came from the Institute of National Remembrance as a battering ram of the right-wing opposition. His task is extremely simple: to put the brakes on Donald Tusk's government. Over the past year, this has resulted in dozens of vetoes, constant blocking of judicial reform, and frequent referrals of laws to the Constitutional Tribunal. You made a mistake there, please do it correctly. Navrodskiy skillfully keeps his distance when criticizing the government. He's quick to say things like, my God, we're losing our sovereignty because of you. We're facing street lawlessness because of you. When everyday problems arise, like the crisis with caregivers, we'll talk about that, inflation, traffic jams, his office just washes its hands and says, what do you want from us? You have a government, Prime Minister Tusk. That's his area of responsibility. In the end, the first year showed that he is not a reformer, but a cold-blooded guardian of the veto. He plays the role of the perfect asset for the Law and Justice Party, carefully boosting their ratings for the upcoming Sejm elections and simply methodically wears down the government. Yes, to be fair, it must be said that as head of state, Navrodskiy did launch a number of legislative initiatives that seem to benefit the people, but this is also a direct attempt to win voters' sympathy because next year there will be elections. The PID0 project for families with 2 or more children, the initiative to protect Polish farmers, we'll talk about that literally I think tomorrow, the restriction on selling land to foreign dealers, and the bill on guaranteed minimum pension indexation. But as they say, there's no bad without a contest. Next, friends, we have more interesting news. The former Polish villages of Ostrowki and Wola Ostrowiecka. In Volhynia, as a result of exhumation work, the remains of 55 victims of the Volhynia tragedy, or the Volhynia massacre, however people refer to it, have been discovered, including 26 children, according to the Polish Institute of National Remembrance on X. The institute specifies that both Polish villages were attacked by the Ukrainian insurgent army on August 30, 1943. With the assistance of Ukrainian residents from neighboring villages, it's interesting how they found that out, but all right, let's believe it, of course. And as usual, they exaggerate everything with pitchforks, axes, and write that the Poles were slaughtered, their buildings looted and wiped off the face of the earth. Today, there are forests and agricultural fields in this place. Well, there's a lot written there, but they do exaggerate a bit. Yes, it could have been in a more neutral tone, but all right. So let's move on to more local news, friends. Let's discuss street violence. What would we do without it? On August 5th, a group of 6 aggressive young guys at the Bieżanowska bus stop started rudely harassing a woman, according to her statement. If we were a spiteful Pole, we would definitely write that these 6 Ukrainians, they're not Ukrainians, right? They're kind of dark-skinned, maybe Vietnamese, no, not Vietnamese, maybe Colombians or Pakistanis. Well, it doesn't matter. I don't really make everything about nationality. It's just that if these were Ukrainians, no, actually, if the woman was Ukrainian and someone was rude to her and knocked her down in the tram, people would say, oh, well, she must have had it coming. Oh, it's a provocation, a provocation. Show the whole thing on the edge. No, she's definitely to blame. Well, the woman was harassed because she was Polish. That's why no one wrote about it like that, right? Nevertheless, some rude person, yes, still, it doesn't matter who said what to whom, but I think that's no reason to hit a woman in any case. 2 men stood up for her, and there was a tough fight. The defenders were beaten up, one was injured, and the attackers, well, they just lost it, started smashing up the tram, yelling and swinging their fists, throwing bottles. In short, they terrified everyone in the tram. According to eyewitnesses, there were foreigners among the attackers, which instantly, of course, blew up Polish social media. And that's when the top of the Polish political Olympus gets involved. We want to ask why. Mr. Karol Navrodskiy is silent. Please tell us what you think. And that's because, I'll tell you, silence in this case is a carefully calculated political move. He's not as much of a fool as some people think. Navrodskiy's office and the Polish right are playing a classic combination. First of all, they are shifting all the responsibility, onto Donald Tusk's government. You and your Ministry of Internal Affairs failed to provide security, so you're responsible for the rise in street crime. Who else? Secondly, through their controlled media, the right wing is launching a dull, extremely harsh campaign, blowing up domestic and street conflicts to a massive scale. Look at what's happening here. This is the collapse of law and order and a threat to the nation. And the division of labor turns out to be brilliant. The right-wing media stirs up fear, phobias, and anti-immigrant psychosis. The president's office points fingers at examples. Look, this is what it has led to. It gives. It has reached me like this. Sorry, my emotions are overwhelming. Under the previous government, this didn't happen. The liberals have ruined things and caused chaos in the streets. There. Well, Navrodskiy himself is keeping quiet for now, so let's see. Maybe he'll come in a white tailcoat with a slogan about enforcing strict order. The laws of political struggle don't change for hundreds of years. To sell the voter on a strongman, first you need to properly scare them with street lawlessness. Yes. And I'll repeat, this is just the beginning. The real trouble is still ahead. From Kamienna Gora, there is also some extremely alarming news coming in, friends. On Friday evening, near a house on Prince Bolik I Street, they probably mean Bolesław Krobry, correct me in the comments, a street drama unfolded. A 15-year-old teenager received severe injuries from a dangerous object. The boy was in critical condition. He almost died there. He was urgently hospitalized. The police acted quickly. Big props to them. Conducted a crime scene inspection, interrogated witnesses, and promptly detained 2 teenagers. They are 16 years old. According to law enforcement, one of them was released after questioning, while the other was sent to a juvenile detention center. It is this individual whom the investigation suspects of causing the dangerous injuries. All this information and case materials will now be sent to the Juvenile and Family Court. It is up to the judges to give a cold legal assessment of this teenage conflict and determine the further fate of the detainee. Yes, if I turned my sarcasm up to the maximum right now, I would write and say, of course, that this is obviously the fault of the Ukrainians and Tusk. But look, friends, the further it goes, the less I want to joke about this topic. History shows that such tragic consequences are caused by everyday aggression and lack of control among young people. And we're getting to the main question, where does this even come from? I remember being 15, friends, I didn't have a knife or brass knuckles or anything like that. Where do school kids nowadays get this street aggression and radicalism from? I'll tell you. Young people aren't isolated. They absorb their surroundings like sponges. Social media algorithms, fringe communities, TikToks, Telegram channels, all sorts of forums feed this to teenagers and others around the clock. Simple content. Our people are being mistreated. We're second-class Poles here. Enemies are all around. Strength is respected. Weakness is despised. The political background when grown men on TV screens legitimize hate every day, using that language to divide people into proper citizens, outsiders, and enemies, promote the cult of the strongman. Teenagers take it in, yes, what's the big deal? That's what they say on TV. All of this is a direct guide to action, and this everyday youth radicalism intersects with national politics in Poland. When the political beacon finally shifts to the right, we wait for the next elections. The state itself is fueling this fire. Street psychosis and anti-migrant phobias become convenient pre-election fuel. But the price for this will be enormous. Instead of law and order, the country gets uncontrollable aggression in the streets, an uncompromising war of identities, and the deepest systemic division of society, which, unfortunately, in my opinion, has already happened in Poland. When radicalism from back alleys and social networks starts to penetrate state policy, and it's still unclear really what came first, the chicken or the egg, but everyone will lose in the end. It's all very sad. Dimatorzok. Oh, I would like to end on a good note, but I just don't see anything good. Share what's good in your life in the comments, friends. I read it all. Thank you for your attention. First, I want to greet the builders. Since I've been asked why I offend them, they listen at work until the end. Good job, guys. Yes, and if you could also finish the renovation in my Polish apartment before selling it, that would be great. With a discount, don't do it without a discount. If there's no discount, I'll do a terrible job myself. All right, friends, thank you so much for your attention. Leave likes, write comments, take care of yourselves and your loved ones. That's all for now. See you next time.